Hello, everybody, and thank you to all PCM makers and suppliers for being connected with us today. On behalf of Altx, we would also like to express a special thanks for PCMI committee for this open session and great organization as usual. We hope that you will take advantage of this lecture to know more about UV exposure technology, as well as new possible features in your PCM applications. So have a nice session. So this is the agenda of this presentation. So it's going to be the new innovation and imaging. So I am going to start by our traditional Altx up-to-date, where I would like to give you some about our new figures and a few details about the recent changes. The second part of this presentation will be more related to what you expect as a PCM maker with the new imaging technology assessment. So I'm going to go through the major PCM specs that we are expecting as a, let's say, UV exposure manufacturer, a clear view about the available technologies we have, just quick TCO as a total cost of ownership and maintenance would be addressed, and few details about the possible configuration you're going to have when you are looking for a new UV exposure, and some possible upgrade you can have when just after installation. And last but not least, the new PCM features. I would like to show you what Altx developed over the last 1 and 2 years. It's going to be with the ergonomic and cleaning points for contact printers, second part with the handling and installation. And I'm going to finish with some new development related to the alignment on the DI and contact printers as well. Okay, so welcome in Altx, virtually of course, in France, Normandy. Our traditional Who is Altx slide and our mission. So Altx design, manufactures high quality UV exposure equipment for different industries, such as the printed circuit board, flexible circuit board, and PCM as well. PCM is now 30 to 35% of our turnover. Our PCM customers, and you can have, let's say, a global view of different logos, and we are proud now to be installed over there. They are worldwide based with from small to medium and large size manufacturers or precise metal parts. And since yesterday, we are delighted and proud to count LMS, Lancaster Metal Science Corporation, as a new customer of Altx. So as a Rollto PCM maker located in Pennsylvania, LMS will enjoy our most advanced technology by acquiring a reel-to-reel DI solution. So thank you, LMS, for your confidence, and welcome in Altx. Okay, now let's switch to the key figures. So the sales turnover of Altx is reaching now close to $20 million in 2020. We are still 85 employees located worldwide and among 3 different subsidiaries. And regarding the customer origins, so I mean, when we are receiving some new orders, this is 50-50 among the new and existing customers. We had the chance to receive the PCMI committee, and at this period, we didn't have the new building located at the backside of this of our headquarters. So this is a new building extension dedicated to machine preparation and validation. So this is a building of 800 square meters. It is equipped with air conditions and total dust decontamination areas. We have a new warehouse as well, and we increase our parking lots in order to welcome some new employees. So this new building is able to welcome from 6 to 8 machines just under preparation. Other key figures again about Altx with our distribution of sales. So China is the big part of this pie charts with 52%, and USA is increasing a little bit this year with 18% and 23% for Europe, and the rest of Asia with 7%. We have, for example, South of Korea, Singapore, Malaysia, and so on. The sales and service subsidiaries, in order to respond quickly to our customers located in US, we have our office located in Seattle, Washington, with Altx North America, managed by Sylvain Dromain, and 2 other subsidiaries in China, one in Kunshan and another one in Zhuhai. This is a quick picture I would like to show you related to our new clean room. So this is the new building. So as you can see, we are now in the perfect conditions to prepare the machine without any dust and with a, let's say, a separate building with our original manufacturing plan. Another pictures below. So this is the global worldwide install base. So you can see sometimes 1 point, but 1 point can hide multiple machines. So this is, let's say, just to show you our install base in US, Europe, and of course in Asia mainly. Few words about our R&D department. So Altx is spending 12% of its revenue per year in order to invest in new research and new development. Altx, thanks to a very strong R&D department, has an in-house competencies. So it means all our machines are developed in terms of software, database vision, mechanics, and optics, thanks to different departments. And just recently, we just opened up the new R&D center. So we have now a total floor dedicated for our R&D center. And this new room has a capacity of 25 engineers. So we are, let's say, very proud to extend a little bit this department. Now a few figures about the machines. So Altx, this is 570 machines in operation approximately. Regarding the service, customer service, so we have a dedicated team of engineers located in France, US, and China. And they are, of course, able to make installations and, of course, supports by remote access. Regarding the number, machines sold since the beginning, so before it was Automatic, and now Altx since 2009, we sold 744 UV exposure, contact printer, and direct imaging. Regarding this splits, if we check these pie charts, so the contact printers is representing 65% of our turnover. So even we say that the DI is taking over all the contact printers, this is not the case for our parts. So 65% is quite good. And of course, the DI is getting bigger and bigger year after year, now with 35%. The machine average lifetime is about 15 years, but we can have some customers able to keep their machine up to 20, 22, and sometimes 25 years for very beginning contact printers. Okay, so let's start now the main chapter of this presentation, which is the imaging technology assessment. First of all, and in order to make sure we have the same level of vocabulary, so I suggest to start by a quick glossary. Through this presentation, you are going to see CP. So CP stands for contact printer or conventional printer. So this is an equipment which is using mask or glass mask. Through different customer visits I make with the PCM maker, sometimes they use mask, artwork, film. So at the end, this is the same thing. So a mask, this is a film used by the contact printers where a PCM design is plotted. We can have, let's say, the same type of materials. This is a glass mask where the PCM design is directly engraved on the glass. So it brings, let's say, a better resolution and sometimes better restoration. Last but not least, DI and LDI, sometimes there is some confusion. DI, this is direct imaging, which is using LED technology. This is different than the LDI, which is using laser. So laser for LDI and DI for DND and LED technology. Okay, so now this is the first slide I would like to show you. This is, let's say, more some advice for you, PCM makers. You are looking for a new UV exposure system. You need to put some criteria in your specification. So this is a first example of what we are expecting in your specification. First of all, of course, the type of material you are using in your shop. Is it rigid or flexible? So in the other words, is it sheet by sheet application, or do you have any roll-to-roll process? So let's say this is the first part we have to know to select the good machine configuration. The second part will be the size of the material. We have to know exactly what would be the minimum size and the maximum size of your materials. So by this way, this is the best way, let's say, to select the proper machine configuration, and mainly the main UV source and frame for registration. So this is the part of this point. Thickness and wrap and twist, this is, let's say, more important for direct imaging system. It's quite good to try to evaluate what would be the shape of your, for example, PCM sheets. By this way, we are more able to offer the best solution in order to confirm with this, let's say, flatness issue. For example, for the DI, it's going to be the pretty good clamping system or pretty good vacuum system. So thickness and wrap and twist are in the same, let's say, resolution and resist. If you are working with different suppliers that they work in PCB markets, they are talking about line and space, but line and space means nothing for PCM maker. So in other words, we need to know exactly the resolutions you want to achieve with your UV exposure. For example, it could be the minimum through holes you want to etch on your stainless steel material. So the resolutions you want to reach needs to be mentioned in your specifications. The second one would be the alignment restoration. For example, what would be the minimum shift you are going to accept between the top and bottom images? So this is another specification you have to mention, and this is the best way to select the best machine configuration. Throughputs, the question is, do you need a high productive machine, or do you need just a prototypes machine for small volume? We have to know how many sheet per hour, how many roll per days, and so on, we want to produce. So this is another parameters we have to know. And this is at the end of various parameters related to the environment, the clean room. First of all, which type of handling you are using in your PCM shop. This is operators to load and unload your PCM sheet, or you are expecting an automation. So this is the first point. Footprints, maybe you want to get a very high productive machine, but you don't have enough space in your clean room. So this is another point we have to know prior to select the good exposure for you. And room conditions, of course, temperature, humidity could affect the size of the artworks or maybe the regulation of the DI. So this is another very relevant point. Okay, so I'm going to reuse one slide I have introduced in October with the PCMI, which is the back to basic printing slide. This is I think a pretty good slide in order to know exactly where we are. So UV printing, of course, is between the lamination and the DES line. One solution by using a mask, which is a contact printer. So this is a PCM sheet covered by a resist with a mask and a glass. Everything is stacked together, and the goal, of course, is to start a UV light and transfer the image on the resist, on the PCM sheet. So this is the first solution. And of course, a second solution by using the DI or LDI, there is no mask, no glass, and for example, with a DI, the photohead is going to scan the image stripe per stripe. So this is the second solution. Okay, so I'm going to start now an assessment machine per machine, and I'm going to start with, let's say, the most popular machine and maybe the old one, which is the contact printer manual machine sheet by sheet. So it's going to be the first technology level 1 of 4. I think everybody knows this machine, so I'm going to be fast on it. So the main features of such units, so you can have a glass to mylar option or maybe glass to glass option. And sometimes you can select which type of UV source you want with collimated lamp or scattered light. And of course, you can have some vacuum system in order to increase a little bit the definition results. If I try this exercise with benefits and drawbacks, of course, the price of such unit is, let's say, very affordable, and the footprint is quite small. Because this is a quite old machine, we can say that this is a proven solution, and basically you are able to do your own maintenance operation. The drawbacks, capabilities in terms of resolution and restoration, using a mylar system, we know that's not the best to get the best resolution. Cleanliness, the operator needs to clean the glass just prior to start the exposure. Artworks are stick together, which needs to prepare some artworks prior to, let's say, put the PCM sheet inside. Manual operation, of course, the operator is required to load and unload the machines. The ergonomic points, the operator needs to pull and push the drawers, the stage, which is not so good. And of course, because these machines are quite old, you can face sometimes some parts obsolescence. Another exercise would be the TCO, total cost of ownership. And I have selected different parameters, different aspects. The first one would be related to the financial costs. So how much would be the investment of this? Maintenance costs, production costs, mainly related to the scrap ratio and the mean time between failure. Energy consumption, related mainly of the UV source, and of course, various with the operators in training. I suggest this first evaluation rating. So we can say with such machine that the investment would be low. Maintenance costs, it depends directly of the lifetime of such units. If this is a pretty new machine, so I would say this is low. But of course, this is an old machine. You can face some electronics issue and so on. Production costs should be high, considering that you should face some resolution issue, dust issue, and so on. Energy consumption, this is collimated lamps mainly, so the energy consumption would be high. And of course, an operator needs to be in front of this machine every time in order to load and unload the PCM sheet. What would be the PCM maker profile on such units? Mainly for small PCM shop, for sheet-by-sheet application. They have a limited footprint and sometimes seeking for a second-hand unit. Even we can sometimes find some new units on the market. And of course, for limited application for resolution and registration. Which kind of customization you can expect when you are buying these machines? So this is limited. You can select sometimes the UV source, or if you want specific drawer with glass mylar or glass. What is the possible upgrade? For this unit at the moment, I was not able to find some possible upgrade, let's say, after installation. Okay, same exercise now with the semi-automatic machine, sheet by sheet. So this is still a contact printer, and I increased the technology level with 2 of 4. The main features of this one, generally, so this is a double drawers with glass to mylar or glass to glass. It's possible to select either collimated lamp or LED light source. And of course, the vacuum and the alignment is automatic. And depending on the supplier, you can add some possible HMI in order to automatically load the jobs or select some recipe. Benefits of such unit, the price performance ratio is not so bad with, let's say, a quite good footprint. Compared to the previous manual equipment, you can have a quick batch change because you are not, let's say, obliged to stick the artworks before it starts, and the service is not so bad as well. Drawbacks, the capabilities in terms of resolution is limited, but you have an auto alignment able to reach 15-20 microns of alignment between 2 artworks. Cleanliness, again, the operator needs to, let's say, clean up the glass before to start the exposure, and operator and artworks are still required. TCO now, so it's going to be the same evolution, considering the previous machine with low financial costs. So I increased to medium on this one. Maintenance cost by using, let's say, LED light source. Maintenance contracts are not so mandatory. Just by using, let's say, a remote access, you can have a pretty good support from the, let's say, suppliers. Production cost and energy consumption with a medium rating. Of course, the resolution can be good, but let's say the resolution can be good, but the resolution can be, let's say, the bad point. And at the end, again, you still need to get an operator in the front. PCM maker profile, I increased a little bit with small and medium PCM volume. They are seeking for new or second-hand units for medium resolution and medium restriction. Possible customization when you are buying a new one, you can select the UV source, LED or collimated lamp. The exposure area can be adapted according to your PCM sheet size, and vision system a little bit as well. Possible upgrade, let's say after a while, this is a little bit limited, but for example, suppliers able to change vision CCD cameras or lighting system depending on your new materials you may have. Now we are switching to the new technology 3 or 4, so it's going to be the fully automatic machine, sheet by sheet. I'm going to use, let's say, our famous product to introduce this. So it's going to be the simultaneous double-sided exposure system, mainly with glass to glass or glass mask directly. It is possible to select LED light or collimated lamp. Of course, now all the vacuum and alignment will be managed by the software. HMI is mandatory, and because this is an automatic machine, the pre-alignments is necessary in order to make sure that the machine will have a perfect throughput. So it's going to be directly the benefits of such unit, the throughputs. For example, such machine could reach between 3 and 4 PCM sheets per minute with a total footprint, which is quite small now, and I'm going to show you more a little bit later. Capabilities in terms of resolution and restoration is at the best for a contact printer. Cleanliness possible, but you have to consider, let's say, an extra investment by adding double roller cleaning at the beginning. Autonomous and of course inline. If you consider to install such unit between a laminator and developer, so it's going to be a very good point. But if you want to get a standalone machine like this, you have to consider an extra cost for a loader and unloader. So it's going to be an island of automation. So the price investment would be high. And because this is a contact printers, the artworks are still required. TCO analysis again. So now the financial cost would be high. Maintenance cost, of course, we recommend to get a contract to keep the performance of this machine. But basically, the first level of maintenance can be done directly by the PCM maker. Production cost now is quite low, considering that this machine has an auto check of the vacuum of the registration, so the scrap ratio must be low. Energy consumption now medium, depending on which kind of UV source you want. If this is LED, it's going to be very low. If this is the collimated lamp, we can consider this medium level. Various, because now this is an automatic machine, so the operator is just required to load, unload the artworks, and maybe start the machines and change the batch. PCM maker profiles, so they are seeking for a productive machine with medium high PCM volume. Multi-applications of this unit, is it possible to run with front to back alignment or what we call flash etching or second step exposure. So in one machine, it's possible to run different restoration different applications. And of course, medium high resolution and registration. Customization, again, when you buy a new machine like this, so it's possible to select the type of UV source, exposure area, vision system, and alignment mode. So as I told you before, you can select front to back and or second step exposure. Possible upgrade, so it's quite possible to change the software to get some upgrade, for example, to increase the throughput of this unit. And in terms of alignment, for example, you can start with a front to back registration and then switch to the second step exposure. I'm going to be, let's say, faster on this slide because this unit, this is a fully automatic machine for Rollto, which is very close to the sheet by sheet application. The big difference between the previous one and this one will have the Rollto handling. But basically, the exposure system and police system is quite similar with the previous machine. So glass to glass, LED light, collimated lamp, and of course, besides this machine, a Rollto application with unwinder at the left side and winder at the right side. Benefits, so this one is directly dedicated for high throughput application. By using such Rollto product, we can reach 5, 6 images per minute. Capabilities would be exactly the same. Cleanliness, the cleaning system with roller cleaner is directly integrated with the unwinder. And at the end, this is an all-in-one built-in system. So you don't need to consider some extra costs to add, for example, loader, unloader, and so on. So it's going to be, in fact, a part of the drawbacks. It means that if you want to invest in such machine, you need, of course, a Rollto method in your company. Basically, the laminator needs to manage a Rollto lamination. Price investment will be another drawbacks, and of course, the artworks are still required. A quick TCO analysis. So it's going to be the same than before with the financial cost and maintenance cost. Production cost is still low with, let's say, the same very low scrap ratio. And energy consumption, again, it depends on the type of UV source you want, and operators is low, considering that we just need to load and unload the coil and start the exposure. PCM maker profile, so they have some ability to run the PCM reel-to-reel volume, multiple application again, resolution and registration would be exactly the same than before. Customization, we can find exactly the same point, except of course the winder and unwinder. For instance, is it possible to select the maximum weight of the coil you want, the web width, or maybe the type of cleaning system and some sensors. So there is a lot of possibilities to customize the winder and unwinder. Possible upgrade, the software can follow the trend, winder, unwinder as well. Is it possible to change some parts later on site? And alignments, this is something I would like to show you at the end of this presentation as well. Now we are finished with the contact printer. Let's start with the DI. So DI semi-automatic machine for sheet by sheet. Let's say this is the most known machine for DI in the PCM shop. What is the main features? So this is basically a single side exposure. The machine should have a table with vacuum capabilities, and we are highly recommend to have a clamping system as well. LED plus DMD technology, and we highly recommend to get a very engineered temperature regulation to make sure and to avoid recurring calibration. So this is number one. HMI, of course, to save your recipe, save your job, and have a quick start. Benefits of such units, by using a DMD and LED technology, you are going to get the maximum capabilities starting from the first head. No need to put 2, 3 heads. Let's say the resolution or let's say the registration would be the same. Of course, if you have more heads, you can get more productive machine. Quick batch change, no artworks. This is a DI, less process steps. Of course, you can remove some. and multi-registration modes. So such units are able now to do front-to-back registration as well as second-step exposure. Price investment now would be the drawbacks, and of course, because this is a semi-automatic machine, you still need an operator in front of this machine. TCO analysis, the investment needs to be considered. Maintenance costs, depending on the supplier, you can have some very affordable contract. This is not mandatory again, but if you want to keep the machine performances, this is highly recommended. Production costs, the scrap ratio now would be very low. The resolution and registration are very accurate on such unit. Energy consumption by using, let's say, LED DMD technology, so the consumption will be very low. And because this is again a semi-auto, you need an operator. PCM maker profile now, they are seeking a latest DI technology for small and medium PCM volume. Such unit is able to deal with the sheet-by-sheet application, high resolution and registration, and again, multiple applications depending on the product you want to make. Customization is quite interesting, this one. So it's possible to customize the vacuum table depending on the size of your product. Vision system can be adapted as well. Another very important point for, let's say, the PCM maker. PCM maker are not a PCB maker, so you have no, let's say, layers. You have some artworks. You are using, let's say, some mechanical interface, Inventor, SolidWorks, and so on. So you need a specific data preparation to work with your machines. Head configuration, of course, and if it's not enough, is it possible to add new heads later on site? Vision software, this is another possible upgrade, data preparation as well. And if this machine needs to be switched to an automation, it is depending again on the supplier, it's possible. Automation would be the pretty good transition for the next slide. So now we are talking about the fully automatic machine. Sheet by sheet still. About the main feature, so it's going to be the same, except of course the automation standalone or inline, and I have selected two different pictures. Of course, such automation is not mandatory when you buy the DI, so you can add this automation later on site. If we are checking the benefits and drawbacks, first pros would be, of course, the capabilities. There is no artworks. This machine now would be fully automated. And as you can see on this both version, you can have an easy operator access for manual operation. In other words, if you have any specific prototype, or let's say some small volume PCM sheets, it's possible to load and unload manually without removing the robots. Drawback of this, of course, price and investment. And I would say that you need to be a little bit rigorous in your PCM sheets size and shape. So you need to standardize a little bit your sheet size and sheet set. So this is, let's say, another drawbacks when you start with the automation system. Total cost of ownership. So the financial cost, again, DI plus automation would be higher. Maintenance cost, I selected two different weighting, medium and high. In fact, it depends how the machine will run. If this is a very mass production mode, 3 shift and so on, you are going to, let's say, consume a little bit more the suction cups, maybe the LEDs and so on. But if you are using this machine, 1 shift, 2 shift, few hours, the maintenance cost would not very high. Production cost, so this is a DI base, so it's going to be low. Energy consumption, low as well. Even this is some robots, the motor consumption is not so high. And about the operators, I selected low and medium. Low would be, for example, in this case, if you are installing such machine between the laminator and developer, the operator is not going to touch the PCM, is not going to touch the product. But if this is this, let's say, smart solution, the operator needs to load and unload some cassettes. So it's going to take some time to load and prepare the cassette. So that's why I put low and medium in this case. PCM maker profile seeking an automated machine for medium and high PCM volume in this case, high resolution and registration, and of course, multi applications with front to back and second step exposure are possible. Customization, it will be the same than before. I added this multi-batch function. It means that such machines, such robots are able to deal with different sheets, size, sheets, thickness, and so on. So a multi-batch would be a customization. Possible upgrade, it's going to be the same for the third lines and about the fourth, the Industry 4.0. This is mainly pushed by the, let's say, biggest company in the PCB first. And for example, for the inline system, we can add a CCD camera in order to read some QR codes on the PCM sheet in order to automatically load a batch. So this is a part of the Industry 4.0 concept. The last machine of this assessment, so it's going to be the full technology level, a fully automatic machine for Rollto application. It's going to be, let's say, a mix of contact printer with Rollto application and DI together. So this is, let's say, the latest generation. This machine has the same capability, and even this is a Rollto machines. This machine is able to deal with long rigid panel. Just few pictures about what we can find in such units. So vacuum and clamping system are possible, even with let's say web product, so LED and DMD technology, and of course winder and unwinder besides this unit. Benefits, this machine now is dedicated for high throughputs. There is no artworks because this is a Rollto, so the winder and winder gives directly the all-in-one built-in system. And this is another point, it's possible to expose long panels such as 1 meter, 2 meter, 3, and maybe 4 meters. It depends directly on your clean room and footprint capabilities. Price, investment, and at the end, the last, let's say, drawbacks. You need, of course, a Rollto process, except if you need this machine only for very, let's say, long panels. Okay, about the TCO. So again, the financial cost would be high. Maintenance costs, it depends directly how the machine will be used. Again, production cost and energy consumption will be low. And normally I should put here, let's say, a low rating for the operators, but to be honest, it's pretty hard to consider, for example, a temporary worker on such unit. This kind of machine has a high level of technology. This is a little bit more complex. We think in Altx that it's pretty hard to, let's say, affect a temporary worker. So it's better to have, let's say, a high competent operators who knows, let's say, exactly how the Rollto method is working and what would be the results at the end. So I consider maybe more a high competent worker for this machine. PCM maker profile, looking for latest generation, of course, Rollto application with the high and with a long panel ability, or maybe they are looking for making what we call an endless product as well, which is of course possible with contact printers in a certain limit. Customization of this, vacuum table, winder, unwinder, vision system, heads configuration. So it's quite similar with DI Semiauto and Rollto automatic system. Possible upgrade, again, number of heads, vision software, data preparation, and Industry 4.0. Okay, so I'm going to now move on the latest part of this presentation. So it's going to be now more dedicated for Altx product. And I'm going to give you some news about our famous contact printers. We have more and more such units with PCM makers. They are, let's say, very famous for them. So for somebody that they don't know this unit, so this is a fully automatic printers, simultaneous double-sided exposure for sheet-to-sheet application. So what's new for this unit? Before we had only one screen, so Altx now added a second screen in order to get a multitask effect. So it makes it easier to use multiple functions. For example, thanks to this effective monitoring, we can display the CCD field of view as well as some data about the LED light source. So this is quite comfortable for the operators. Another thing, if there is any issues to read something on the top of the screen, we can switch both screens together. So this is an ergonomic point. Easy cleaning. This is again a new totally function we have introduced at the beginning of this year. Now, this is the exposure room of our Aqua product, and we added now a rocking upper frame. So it means that the upper frame can have some rotation in order to get an easy and effortless way to check the exposure room. Of course, this is better to get an efficient cleaning, so it allows the effective glass and artworks cleanup. And if you need to check something inside the exposure room, this is quite easy now. And you can see some real picture of our solutions. So, we already shipped, I think, 5 or 6 machines like this, not in PCM, but we are, of course, waiting for your POs. Optimized footprints. So the small footprint. So it was, let's say, some PCM makers told us that the Aqua was a nice product, but they are facing some trouble with the footprint. So now, if you need, for example, to do the second step exposure, we have totally removed the backpack at the backside of the Aqua product. So you can see, let's say, a quick video of this new frame. But now we are able to do front to back registration and second step exposure in this single footprint. So this is a totally new machine architecture. The conveyor 8, this is a quite standard with 950 millimeters. Before, and because we added the collimated lamp, we have something like 1050 millimeters. So now this is a quite standard conveyor 8. Full stainless steel body, this is another thing we added on our Aqua. So of course, if you still need to get a collimated line, this is possible. And in order to facilitate the installation of such units, underneath this unit, we added some rails. They are directly integrated, which is facilitate the machine installation and, let's say, movement inside the table. So this is, again, a new things we added. Process control, mainly it was before dedicated for maintenance department, and now we open this kind of data for the operators. First of all, the independent vacuum artworks are directly displaying on the interface. And the second thing, the vacuum between glass. So our R&D department works in order to display directly the vacuum between glasses. So this is quite convenient for operators to check that everything runs fine, or let's say in case of trouble, to make the first troubleshooting. So the goal, of course, is to save time. The second product where I would like to show you some new things would be our Adix SA. So this is a direct imaging, semi-automatic units, single side exposure, and sheet-to-sheet application. So Altx is proud today to show you and introduce the multi-panel mode. In fact, now we are able to scale and align independent panels on the table. In the other words, this is mainly used for the second step exposure. We can imagine you already printed an image on it, and you can have UV targets, electroform targets, edge targets, or maybe through holes directly. The direct imaging is able to catch 4 different targets from these original images and scale and align the image. And this is possible for 1, 2, 3, and up to 4 panels per second. Of course, the size of the panels should match with the maximum exposure area of 610 by 762. And for our US and French customers, 24 by 30 inches. And last but not least, the Acoil products. So this is the fully automatic machine, double-sided exposure for roll-to-roll application. Over the last 6 months and maybe over the last 12 months, we worked out with some Chinese customer in order to develop the lead frame second step exposure function. This is, let's say, a new alignment concept we have developed with them, and we open this concept now for the PCM makers. We know that some PCM makers are able to make some lead frame products, so this is what I'm going to show you today. How it works, there is, because this is a double-sided exposure machine, a top artworks and a bottom artworks, and at the middle, the lead frame material. And underneath, there is 4 standard CCD cameras with a specific lighting. What is the goal of this alignment concept? You have here a top view of this material and a bottom view of this lead frame material. And on the bottom side, you can see 4 plated targets. It can be silver targets or maybe another kind of materials. This is a target zoom, for example, from this corner, and I'm going to show you what is the goal of this registration. First of all, the machine is going to align the bottom artworks with the plated targets. So it's going to be the dot and pad registration. Second step, the machine is going to align the top artworks with the bottom artworks like this. So by this way, we are able to do the second step exposure from one side and front to back registration by using the second step. So this is a pretty new software for mainly for lead frame. But of course, if you have other similar application, it could work. How we are able to achieve this, let's say, new detection. So last year, Altx R&D developed a new dedicated system for plating and UV target detection. So this is a quick view of this new lighting system. This new lighting system has 2 different annular rings, one to detect some specific targets and a second one where I'm going to show you now. First of all, the UV target detection. It's pretty hard to detect such targets because it depends on the color of your materials, type of materials, resist reaction, quantity of UV, quantity of energy, and so on. So this, thanks to this kind of UV lights and lights, we are able to detect a lot of UV targets on different materials. And the second annular ring is using to detect some plating target detection. Such lighting is going to be used mainly for second image alignment. So it could be plated target, electrophone target, edge target, and so on. As soon as we have some relief on your product, we are able to detect the edge of the targets and align something with the artworks. Great. So I hope this presentation has been, let's say, informative and useful for you. And would like to, of course, thank you all for your attention. I think, Eric, we have now around maybe 10 minutes, maybe more, for some questions. So thank you again for the PCMI and all of the attendees.